The red dust of Mars swirled outside the reinforced windows of the underground facility. Thomas Reed stood before the massive hangar doors, his tired eyes fixed on the half-finished ship inside. Even incomplete, it was beautiful. The vessel's golden hull caught the artificial lights, making the hieroglyph-inspired patterns shimmer across its surface. It looked nothing like any other spacecraft humanity had built before. And that was exactly the point. "Sir, the military board is waiting in the conference room," said a young engineer, breaking Reed's concentration. "They don't seem happy about the latest design changes." Reed nodded slowly, running a hand through his graying hair. He knew this meeting was coming. The military had expected a conventional warship. Instead, he had given them what looked like an ancient Egyptian temple fitted with engines and quantum technology. They wouldn't understand. Not yet. The conference room fell silent as Reed entered. 5 stern faces stared back at him from the holographic projections. General Adams, the head of Earth's Defense Force, spoke first. "Reed, what have you done to our warship?" "I've made it better," Reed replied simply, bringing up the design schematics with a wave of his hand. "The geometric principles we've incorporated." "It looks like a museum piece," interrupted Colonel Parker, his hologram flickering with static. "We needed a weapon, not an art project." Reed took a deep breath. The shape isn't just for show. The angular design, based on ancient Egyptian architecture, creates perfect conditions for our quantum field generators. The energy flows through the ship like water through a canal system. It's more efficient than anything we've ever built. "And the hieroglyphs?" General Adams asked, his voice heavy with skepticism. "Quantum circuitry," Reed explained. "We found that arranging the circuits in these patterns increases their stability by 300%. The ancients understood something about geometric harmony that we're only now beginning to grasp." The meeting continued for another hour, with Reed defending each unconventional choice in his design. He was just explaining the pyramid-inspired power core when Maria Wells, his head of quantum mechanics, burst into the room. "You all need to see this," she said, her face pale. With another wave of her hand, she brought up a new hologram. It showed deep space beyond Neptune's orbit. And there, moving in perfect formation, was a fleet of ships. Alien ships. The room fell silent again, but this time with fear rather than disapproval. The ships were massive, their dark hulls spotted with what were clearly weapon ports. Initial calculations showed there were over 300 vessels in the formation. "First contact," General Adams whispered. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At their current speed, 3 months," Maria answered. "They're not trying to hide their approach. In fact," she paused, bringing up another data stream. "They're broadcasting something." The message was simple, transmitted in multiple mathematical sequences that Earth's computers had quickly decoded. "Your species is unsuitable. Your worlds will be cleansed. Resistance is futile." "Well," said Colonel Parker, "I guess that answers the question of whether they're friendly." He turned to Reed. "How close is the ship to completion?" Reed checked his tablet. "Project Phoenix is at 62% completion. With current resources and workforce, we need at least 4 more months." "You have 2, General Adams said firmly. "Whatever you need. Resources, workers, materials, you'll have them. Just make sure that ship of yours can fight." The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. The Mars facility transformed into a hive of round-the-clock work. More engineers arrived daily, shuttled in from Earth on emergency transports. The Phoenix grew quickly, its golden hull extending further each day. Reed barely slept, splitting his time between overseeing construction and running simulations. The quantum core was proving particularly troublesome. The power output was beyond anything they'd predicted, and containing it was becoming a challenge. One night, as Reed worked late in his office, Maria brought him some coffee and surprising news. "The quantum core," she said, sitting down across from him. "I don't think we're building what we think we're building." Reed looked up from his screens. What do you mean? The geometric patterns we're using, combined with the quantum field generators, they're not just making energy. They're affecting space-time itself. Look at these readings. She showed him her tablet, displaying a series of measurements from their latest tests. Reed's eyes widened as he studied the numbers. This can't be right. According to this, we're generating temporal distortions. Small ones. But yes, Maria confirmed. The ship isn't just advancing our space technology. It's breaking the laws of physics as we know them. Before Reed could respond, the facility's alarms began blaring. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridors as security teams rushed past the office. Reed and Maria ran to the main control room, where chaos had erupted. Someone tried to sabotage the quantum core, the security chief reported. We caught them in the act, but they managed to escape into the maintenance tunnels. Reed felt his heart sink. They had a spy in the facility, someone who wanted to stop the Phoenix from being completed. But who? And why? The answer came 3 days later, when Earth's first attempted diplomatic contact with the alien fleet ended in disaster. The small group of ships sent to communicate was completely destroyed, without warning or mercy. Humanity's conventional defenses would be useless against such advanced weapons. As Reed stood in the hangar that evening, looking up at the Phoenix, he realized that his unconventional design might be humanity's only hope. The ship had started as an experiment in combining ancient wisdom with modern technology. Now it needed to become something more. Humanity's shield against extinction. He walked along the vessel's hull, his hand trailing over the golden surface. The hieroglyph-inspired quantum circuits pulsed faintly under his touch, as if the ship was alive and responding to him. In a way, perhaps it was. The quantum core they'd built was showing signs of patterns that looked remarkably like neural activity. "We'll be ready," he whispered to the ship. "They don't expect us to have anything like you, and that's going to be their biggest mistake." Above the facility, the Martian dust storm continued to rage, hiding the massive construction project from prying eyes. And somewhere out in the darkness of space, humanity's greatest threat approached, unaware that their easy conquest would soon face resistance from a ship that defied their understanding of what was possible. The deep space sensors picked up the first real attack 2 days later. Earth's outer defense fleet, stationed near Jupiter, vanished in less than 10 minutes. The alien Armada moved with cold efficiency, their dark ships cutting through humanity's best vessels like they were made of paper. In the Mars facility's main control room, Reed watched the combat footage with a growing sense of dread. The alien ships used some kind of energy weapon that simply erased whatever it touched. No explosions, no debris, just empty space where proud human ships had been moments before. "Commander Stone sends his regards," came the broadcast, transmitted on all frequencies. The alien commander's voice was surprisingly human-like, though filled with a mechanical coldness that sent chills down Reed's spine. "Your species' primitive attempts at resistance amuse us. We will make your extinction quick." Maria rushed into the control room, her tablet displaying new data from the Phoenix's quantum core. "Thomas, you need to see this. The core, it's responding to the alien attacks. Look at these patterns." The quantum core's activity had spiked dramatically. The neural-like patterns they'd observed before were now forming complex structures that looked almost like battle plans. It was as if the ship was analyzing the combat footage and developing countermeasures on its own. "It's learning," Reed whispered, studying the data. "The quantum circuits aren't just processing power. They're creating a form of artificial intelligence we've never seen before." Their discovery was interrupted by the facility's security alarm. Another sabotage attempt had been detected, this time in the ship's main computer systems. Reed and Maria raced to the Phoenix's control center, where security teams had cornered the infiltrator. The spy was one of their own engineers, Bill Foster. As security dragged him away, he kept shouting about the ship being too dangerous and how they were meddling with forces beyond their control. The quantum core's activity spiked again during his removal, its patterns showing what could only be described as agitation. Reed ordered a complete security overhaul. Every member of the project had to be rescreened. The Phoenix was too important to risk another betrayal. While the security checks were being conducted, he and Maria made an incredible discovery in the ship's systems. The quantum core isn't just becoming conscious, Maria explained, showing Reed the latest scans. It's creating its own space-time bubble around the ship. Look at these temporal readings. Time itself moves differently inside the Phoenix's hull. Reed studied the numbers with growing excitement. That's why the hieroglyph patterns were so important. The ancient Egyptians weren't just building tombs, they were creating geometric structures that could channel energy in ways we're only beginning to understand. Another alert came through. The alien fleet had reached Saturn. Earth's forces were being systematically destroyed in each engagement. The aliens' energy weapons seemed unstoppable, and their ship's armor shrugged off humanity's strongest weapons like they were toys. "We need more time," Reed muttered, watching another human fleet disappear from the tactical display. But time was the one thing they didn't have. Or was it? An idea struck him. Crazy, possibly suicidal, but potentially brilliant. "Maria, what if we use the temporal distortions to our advantage? If the Phoenix can manipulate time around itself, we could buy ourselves the extra weeks we need." Maria finished his thought, already running calculations. "But it's risky. We have to power up the quantum core to full capacity, and we haven't tested it at those levels yet." "Test it now," Reed ordered. "We're out of options." The next few days were a blur of activity. The facility worked around the clock, pushing the Phoenix's systems to their limits. The quantum core's consciousness grew stronger, now actively helping with the ship's completion by suggesting improvements to its own systems. They began calling the AI Sphinx after it started communicating through the ancient Egyptian symbols in its circuitry. It seemed to have developed a deep understanding of both the hieroglyphs' mathematical principles and their cultural significance. But their work was interrupted again, this time by news that chilled everyone to the bone. The alien fleet had split up. While the main force continued its direct approach, a smaller group of ships had accelerated suddenly, breaking away from the main fleet. Their trajectory pointed directly at Mars. "They know we're here," Reed realized. Someone told them about the Phoenix. His thoughts went to Foster, the captured spy. How many others were out there, working against them? General Adams' hologram appeared in the control room. "Reed, we've intercepted their communications. The strike force will reach Mars in 48 hours. How close are you to completion?" Reed looked at the status displays. The Phoenix was at 89% completion. The main weapons were online, the quantum core was stable, and the hull was sealed. But the temporal systems were untested, and several secondary systems were still being installed. "We can launch," he said finally. "But we'll need a crew, people who can handle unusual conditions." He glanced at the quantum core's readings, which showed increasingly complex patterns of thought. "You'll have them," Adams promised. "The best pilots and engineers we have left." "But Reed, are you sure that ship of yours can fight?" Reed watched as Sphinx displayed a series of combat simulations on the main screen, showing the Phoenix using its temporal distortions to impossible advantage. "General, I don't think the aliens have any idea what they're about to face." That night, as the facility prepared for emergency launch procedures, Reed stood in the Phoenix's control room. The hieroglyph circuits pulsed with a soft golden light, and he could feel the quantum core's presence, curious, eager, and surprisingly protective of its human creators. "We built you to be different," he said softly to the ship. "To think differently, to fight differently. Tomorrow, we'll find out if different is enough." The alien strike force was now visible from Mars' surface, a group of dark shapes moving against the stars, coming to destroy what they saw as a primitive species' last hope. They had no idea they were about to encounter something that would change their understanding of what humans were capable of. In less than 24 hours, the Phoenix would launch. Ready or not, the time had come to see if humanity's greatest gamble would pay off, or if the combination of ancient wisdom and future technology would prove to be nothing more than an interesting footnote in humanity's final chapter. Dawn broke over the Martian surface in shades of dusty red. The alien strike force was now clearly visible through telescopes. 12 massive warships approaching with deadly purpose. In the underground facility, Reed met his hastily assembled crew in the Phoenix's main hall. Captain James Foster, no relation to the spy they'd caught earlier, stood at attention with his 4 crew members. They were the best Earth had left. Linda Cooper, weapons specialist. Mike Torres, engineer. Anna Wright, quantum systems expert. And David Chen, pilot. All of them had fought the aliens before. All of them had survived when their shipmates hadn't. The Phoenix isn't like any ship you've served on, Reed explained as they walked through the golden corridors. She's alive, in a way. The quantum core has developed its own consciousness. We call it Sphinx. As if responding to its name, the hieroglyph circuits pulsed with soft light. Text appeared on the nearest display. Welcome, defenders. Time remaining until enemy contact, 47 minutes. The crew exchanged glances. They'd been briefed about the AI, but seeing it in action was different. Captain Foster stepped forward. Can it understand us? I understand perfectly, Captain, Sphinx replied, its words appearing in both English and hieroglyphs. And I suggest we begin launch preparations immediately. The enemy has increased speed. Reed led them to the bridge, a circular chamber that looked more like an Egyptian temple than a starship's control room. Golden pillars rose to a vaulted ceiling covered in flowing quantum circuits. Instead of traditional control panels, the stations were marked with hieroglyph-inscribed crystals that responded to touch. Your stations are marked, Reed said. Sphinx will guide you through the interfaces. They're intuitive once you get used to them. He turned to leave, but Captain Foster caught his arm. You're not staying. Reed shook his head. My place is in the facility. Someone needs to coordinate with Earth. And... Negative. Sphinx interrupted. Creator Reed's presence is essential for optimal performance. The quantum core's neural patterns show a 47% efficiency increase when he is aboard. Before Reed could argue, the facility's alarms blared. The alien ships had launched their first attack, not at the Phoenix, but at Mars' orbital defense platforms. The platforms exploded silently in the vacuum of space, leaving Mars completely exposed. Time to launch. 15 minutes, Sphinx announced. Creator Reed, please take the quantum systems station. The enemy must not be allowed to detect our true capabilities. Reed looked at the crew, then at the captain. Foster nodded. Welcome aboard, Chief Engineer. The next 15 minutes were controlled chaos. The facility's ceiling began retracting, revealing the Martian sky above. The Phoenix's systems came online one by one, each accompanied by a soft hum and flowing patterns of light through the circuits. Enemy vessels launching secondary strike craft, Sphinx reported, detecting energy signatures matching their ship-erasing weapons. Time to launch. 3 minutes. The crew strapped into their stations. Reed placed his hands on the quantum crystal interface, feeling the ship's power flowing through the circuits. The neural connection was stronger than in any test. He could almost sense Sphinx's thoughts, its eagerness to prove itself. Launch in 10, 9. Through the bridge's viewing crystal, they could see the alien ships positioning themselves for attack. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb the sunlight, making them look like holes in space. 8, 7, 6. Multiple weapons locked on our position, Linda reported from the weapons station. They're charging their main guns. 5, 4, 3. Quantum core at full power, Reed announced, watching the energy levels spike. Temporal field stable. 2, 1. The first alien shots streaked toward the facility, their energy weapons powerful enough to vaporize the entire complex. But they were too late. Launch. The Phoenix rose from its underground berth on pillars of golden light. Its hull, shaped like a fusion of ancient temple and modern worship, caught the Martian sunlight and seemed to glow from within. The alien ships paused their attack, clearly confused by the unexpected design. "They are scanning us," Sphinx reported. "Their confusion is amusing. They cannot comprehend our construction." David's hands danced over the pilus crystals, guiding the Phoenix into a defensive position between Mars and the alien fleet. The ship moved with impossible grace, its quantum-enhanced systems responding faster than any conventional vessel could. The alien commander's voice crackled over the comm. "Unknown vessel, your design is irrelevant. You will be erased like all other human weapons." Multiple energy beams lanced out from the alien ships, each powerful enough to destroy a conventional warship. But as they struck the Phoenix's hull, something remarkable happened. The hieroglyph circuits flared with brilliant light, and the energy simply vanished. "Energy absorption at 100%, Reed reported, watching in amazement as the quantum core processed the attack. "Sphinx, what did you do?" "The temporal field captured their weapon's energy in a moment of time," the AI explained. "It is now suspended in a loop, neither past nor present. Shall we show them what else we can do?" Captain Foster grinned. "By all means." The Phoenix's hull began to ripple with golden light. The captured energy from the alien weapons flowed through the hieroglyph circuits, amplified by the quantum core. Then, with a pulse that distorted space itself, the ship vanished. "What happened?" Anna asked from her station. "Where are we?" "Everywhere and nowhere," Sphinx replied. "The quantum field has removed us from normal spacetime. We are, as humans would say, in the spaces between seconds." Through the viewing crystal, they could see the alien ships frozen in time, their next attacks half-formed. The Phoenix moved between them like a ghost, untouchable and unseen. "Creator Reed," Sphinx announced, "I believe it's time to demonstrate why mixing ancient wisdom with quantum physics was a better idea than anyone realized." The hieroglyph circuits pulsed once more, and the Phoenix prepared to show the alien fleet exactly what humanity was capable of when they thought outside the boundaries of conventional science. The real battle was about to begin, and for the first time since the invasion started, humanity had hope. The Phoenix emerged from its temporal shift directly behind the largest alien vessel. Before the enemy could react, golden energy coursed through the hieroglyph circuits, focusing into a beam of concentrated time itself. The alien ship's rear section aged 1,000 years in an instant, crumbling to ancient dust while its front half remained untouched. "By all that's holy," Captain Foster whispered, watching the impossible sight. "What did we just do to them?" "Temporal weaponry," Reed explained, his hand steady on the quantum controls. "We're not just absorbing their energy. We're using time itself as a weapon." The alien fleet's response was immediate and furious. Space lit up with their energy weapons, all targeting the Phoenix's position. But the ship was already moving, dancing between the beams with impossible grace, its golden hull flickering with captured power. "Multiple temporal signatures detected," Sphinx announced. "The enemy is attempting to adapt their weapons to match our capabilities. Fascinating. They learn quickly." Linda's hands flew over the weapons crystal. "They're surrounding us. Formation change at Mark III." The alien ships had indeed begun a complex maneuver, spreading out to form a sphere around the Phoenix. Their weapons charged simultaneously, preparing to fire from all directions at once. There would be no way to dodge every shot. "Sphinx," Reed called out, "remember that test we ran last week? The one that almost overloaded the core?" "Ah." The AI responded, a note of enthusiasm in its text. "The Pyramid Protocol. Warning, this will place significant strain on all systems. Do it anyway." The Phoenix's hull began to shimmer, the hieroglyph circuits pulsing in a complex sequence. The quantum core's power output spiked beyond any previous readings. Around the ship, space itself seemed to fold, creating a pyramidal structure of pure energy. The aliens fired. Dozens of energy beams struck the pyramid from all sides. But instead of hitting the Phoenix, they began to reflect, bouncing between the temporal surfaces in an ever more complex web of destruction. Energy reflection at 400% efficiency, Reed reported, watching in amazement as the alien fleet's own weapons turned against them. The pyramid structure isn't just blocking their attacks, it's amplifying them. 3 alien ships vanished in rapid succession, caught in their own reflected energy beams. The others broke formation, trying to escape the deadly geometry of temporally charged space. But the Phoenix wasn't finished. Creator Reed, Sphinx displayed. I believe I've decoded their fleet communications. They are afraid. They have never encountered technology that uses time as a weapon. Commander Stone is ordering a full retreat. Not yet, Captain Foster commanded. We can't let them escape to warn the main fleet. Mike, how's our power? Mike checked his engineering crystals. Core is hot but stable. Whatever Sphinx is doing with the quantum field, it's working better than we ever designed it to. Time for Phase 2, Reed announced. Sphinx, initiate the Labyrinth Protocol. The AI's response appeared with what could only be described as glee. With pleasure, Creator. Captain Foster, I suggest all crew members close their eyes for the next 30 seconds. What you're about to see may disturb your temporal perception. The Phoenix's quantum core pulsed, and reality seemed to shatter around them. The space around the ship split into countless fragments, each showing a different moment in time. The alien ships suddenly found themselves fighting the Phoenix in multiple timelines simultaneously. How many ships are we fighting? Linda asked, her voice strained as she tried to track multiple targets across multiple time streams. All of them, Sphinx replied, and none of them. We are engaging each ship across several possible timelines. They cannot hit what exists in multiple moments at once. The scene outside the viewing crystal was chaos. Alien ships fired at where the Phoenix had been, would be, and might be, their weapons useless against a target that existed in many times at once. Some ships found themselves firing at their own past positions, while others were caught in loops where they continuously executed the same failed maneuver. Commander Stone's voice crackled over the comm, filled with rage and disbelief. What are you? This defies all known laws of physics. No, Reed responded, his hand steady on the quantum controls. It just defies your understanding of them. The universe is stranger than you imagined, Commander. Humanity has merely been brave enough to embrace that strangeness. The Phoenix moved through the temporal maze like it was born to it, which in a way it was. Each attack it launched existed in multiple moments at once, making defense impossible. The alien ships began to fall one by one, their advanced technology useless against weapons that struck them across time itself. Warning, Sphinx displayed suddenly. Commander Stone's flagship is charging its primary weapon. Detecting unusual temporal signatures, they are attempting to match our quantum frequency. The alien flagship's hull began to glow with a dark energy that hurt the eyes to look at. Stone had apparently decided that if he couldn't beat the Phoenix's control of time, he would try to break time itself. All power to the quantum core. Reed ordered. Sphinx, prepare for temporal collision. The two ships charged at each other, each wreathed in its own distortion of time and space. The Phoenix's golden hull blazed like a newborn sun, while Stone's flagship seemed to absorb light itself. When they met, reality held its breath. The collision wasn't physical, it was temporal. Two different manipulations of time met and fought for dominance. The Phoenix's carefully controlled quantum fields clashed with the alien ship's brute force attempt to rip space-time apart. For a moment, the crew sought every possible outcome of the battle simultaneously. They saw the Phoenix triumphant, destroyed, and everything in between. They saw paths where humanity won and paths where they lost. The quantum core screamed with power as Sphinx fought to hold their own timeline stable. Then, with a flash that burned itself into the crew's memories, order reasserted itself. The Phoenix hung in space, its hull pulsing with residual temporal energy. Before them, Stone's flagship was frozen in a moment of time, neither moving forward nor backward, its crew trapped in an eternal instant. Target neutralized, Sphinx announced calmly. Remaining enemy vessels are retreating. Shall we pursue? Captain Foster looked at his crew, saw the exhaustion on their faces, and shook his head. No. Let them run. Let them tell their main fleet what happened here. Let them know that humanity isn't as primitive as they thought. Reed checked the quantum core's readings one last time. The hieroglyph circuits pulsed steadily, having proven that the combination of ancient wisdom and future science wasn't just possible, it was powerful beyond imagination. Mars sparkled in the viewing crystal as the Phoenix completed its patrol route. 3 days had passed since the battle with Stone's strike force, and the main alien fleet was approaching rapidly. The quantum core hummed with steady power, its circuits glowing softly in the dimmed bridge lighting. Report from Earth, Captain Foster announced, reading from his display. The aliens have changed formation. They're not spreading out anymore. They're clustering together. Reed studied the tactical display, watching the mass of enemy ships move as one giant group. They're afraid, he realized. After what happened to Stone's fleet, they're staying close for protection. Their fear is logical, Sphinx commented, its text appearing in both English and hieroglyphs. I have analyzed the data from our previous battle. The surviving ships from Stone's fleet have joined the main Armada. They are sharing information about our capabilities. The crew had spent the past days repairing the Phoenix's systems and analyzing their performance in combat. The quantum core had exceeded all expectations, and Sphinx had developed new applications for their temporal weapons that even Reed hadn't imagined possible. Linda looked up from the weapons station. Multiple ships launching from Earth. Looks like the remains of our fleet is moving to support us. No, Reed said quickly. Tell them to stay back. This isn't their fight anymore. Creator Reed is correct, Sphinx displayed. Conventional ships would only be a liability in what I have planned. The quantum core has reached new levels of temporal understanding. Shall I show you? The hieroglyph circuits pulsed, and a complex diagram appeared on the main display. It showed the Phoenix creating not just temporal distortions, but entire pockets of alternative spacetime. We're not going to just fight them, Reed explained, understanding Sphinx's plan. We're going to trap them in a maze of their own possible futures. The alien fleet appeared at the edge of Mars' orbital path, right on schedule. Over 200 ships remained, their dark hulls blocking out the stars behind them. Their formation was tight, weapons charged and ready. A transmission cut through all frequencies. This is High Commander Rex of the Cleansing Fleet. Your temporal trickery does not frighten us. You face the combined might of our entire Armada. Surrender now, and your extinction will be quick. Captain Foster looked at his crew, then at Reed. Should we respond? No need, Sphinx answered. Actions speak louder than words, as humans say. Initiating temporal maze sequence. The Phoenix's hull blazed with golden light as the quantum core reached full power. The hieroglyph circuits activated in a complex sequence that Reed had never seen before. Space itself began to fold around them, creating corridors of distorted time that spread out like a web. The alien fleet fired everything they had. Hundreds of energy beams streaked toward the Phoenix, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But as the beams entered the temporal distortions, something strange happened. Each shot split into multiple possibilities, following every potential path through time simultaneously. Quantum field stable, Reed reported, his hands dancing over the controls. Sphinx, what exactly are we doing? Creating a paradox cascade, the AI replied. Each ship will experience multiple timelines at once. They will see themselves destroyed, victorious, and everything in between. The uncertainty will trap them in a loop of probability. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Alien ships began firing at versions of themselves from different timelines. Some vessels tried to escape, only to find themselves flying back into the battle from a moment that hadn't happened yet. Others froze in place, their crews unable to determine which reality was real. Multiple temporal fractures detected. Anna called from her station. The quantum field is spreading faster than they can adapt. High Commander Rex's voice came through again, but this time it echoed strangely, as if speaking from several moments at once. What? What is happening? Our sensors show we are in 1,000 places at once. Now, Sphinx announced, for the final movement. The Phoenix began to move through the temporal maze it had created, its golden hull shifting between moments with perfect precision. Each time it passed an enemy ship, that ship became trapped in its own personal time loop, forced to experience its final moments over and over again. Warning, Mike called from engineering. The quantum core is approaching critical levels. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it fast. Reed watched as the tactical display showed more and more alien ships becoming trapped in temporal stasis. Sphinx, how many have we contained? 78% of the enemy fleet is now temporally neutralized. The remaining ships are. The AI paused. They are attempting to self-destruct. They would rather die than face our technology again. No, Captain Foster ordered. No more death today. Linda, target their engines with temporal beams. Let's freeze them in place until they're ready to talk. The remaining alien ships found their engine cores aged to dust in seconds, leaving them floating helplessly in space. On the main viewer, the scene was like nothing humanity had ever witnessed. Hundreds of alien ships trapped in a web of golden temporal energy, some frozen in time, others living the same moment eternally, all of them completely neutralized. High Commander Rex's final transmission was barely a whisper. We were wrong. You are not primitive. You are beyond our understanding. We surrender. Hours later, as Earth's ships moved in to secure the defeated alien fleet, Reed stood at the Phoenix's viewing crystal, watching the cleanup operation. Captain Foster joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. You know what this means, don't you? Foster asked, handing Reed a cup. Every military in the solar system will want their own Phoenix-class ship now. Reed shook his head. They can try, but they won't succeed. The Phoenix isn't just technology. It's a perfect blend of past and future, of human wisdom and quantum impossibility. You can't mass-produce something like that. Indeed, Sphinx added, its text appearing on a nearby display. I have already received 47 requests for my base code. They do not understand that I am not merely programming. I am the child of human innovation and universal mysteries. The quantum core pulsed softly, its hieroglyph circuits creating patterns that looked almost like stars. The ship that had saved humanity hung in space, its golden hull still shimmering with temporal energy. It was a testament to what was possible when humanity dared to think beyond the conventional, to blend the wisdom of the past with the science of the future. So, Foster said, sipping his coffee, what do we do next? Reed smiled, watching as the last alien ship was secured. We explore. There's a whole universe out there, and we've just proved that humanity understands it better than anyone thought possible. The Phoenix isn't just a weapon. It's a key to unlock the greatest mysteries of space and time. The hieroglyph circuits pulsed in agreement, and the quantum core hummed with anticipation of adventures to come. The ship they never expected had not just saved humanity. It had opened the door to a future where the impossible was just the beginning.